Hello. This episode is a conversation with the instrumental guitar Duo Tandem, which is made up of Mark Anderson and Necati Emirzade, both on guitar. In this episode, we have a cool conversation about their new album, which is out now, available on all streaming platforms. We talk about the creation of the album, what it's like to be a guitar duo separated by a long distance, both because of COVID and also just living in separate areas of the world. And we get into some other fun musical topics around composition and guitar technique and classical guitar and the cultures around performance. But before we get to that, please remember to leave a comment, and subscribe to my channel. And if you would like to consider supporting my content generally, please consider visiting my Patreon page. Welcome to Music in Mind with Anthony Caulkins. Everybody,
hi Anthony.
This is Duo Tandem, guitar duo, and we have Necati Emirzade and Mark Anderson. And so Mark and I have known each other for many years now, probably back to 2011 or 2012. Because I was in the music program at the University of Wisconsin-Madison with Mark's brother Eric, and we met each other through that, and we've done a podcast together, and we've done a couple things together, couple concerts together, or maybe one concert, but we've hung out a lot. And Necati, I met, we were just talking about this actually, I think it was in 2012 when Duo Tandem performed at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Yep. So how's it going, guys?
Still alive. Still doing good.
It's all been downhill since that performance at UW.
That was it? That was the peak?
That was the peak.
That was 2012, man. That's a long time ago.
Yeah, well, it's been a long, slow decline.
Okay, at least it's gradual.
That's right, It's gradual, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's been a steady growth since then. That was so we were in grad school at that time. That was our second year of grad school. That was when we had just started playing together at the beginning of that year. And so we came in, that was during our spring break. We came out here in the Midwest and played, a number of places, including UW. And so that was like our first tour of performances actually outside of our school. Yeah, so it's all been uphill since that was the very beginning. For us.
Yeah, and the school that was San Francisco Conservatory, right?
Right. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. So we were working together there. We both started in 2010. Started playing together in 2011, our second year.
And then just started touring.
Yeah.
Touring now.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you guys have a new album out that came out pretty recently, right?
Mm-hmm. It came out. When was that?
May.
May 8th.
April.
Yeah.
May 8th. Yeah.
May.
Okay. Cool. So pandemic album.
Pandemic album. Yeah. It was not planned that way. That was our third album. Mm-hmm. And that one we released it with Naxos, right. Which is a classical music label, and they release a ton of albums, and because of that, they organize and plan things very far in advance. So we first approached them in the summer of 2018. We recorded in the late winter it was March, like late winter, early spring of 2019, and the album was not released until May of 2020. So it was not,
Long
it was
process.
Released, it was a pandemic album, not because we didn't want to wait it out, but because, it was part of Naxos timeline, and they are, just a giant boulder. Yeah, rolling forward. We had no choice.
Interesting. Yeah. It's an interesting process working probably with a label versus releasing things on your own. I was listening to a podcast with an author talking about book publishing and how it's sort of a similar issue, where if you publish a book by yourself, or if you publish it with a major publisher, the publisher will impose a deadline on you that's like a year before it's released, so you can be way lazier if you release it yourself and still have it come out at the same time.
It's true. Yeah, it's totally true. It was a very different experience. Our first album, we like pushed things, and when we perform, we usually try to do it when one of us has a break in our teaching schedule. So like if Necati has a break, he can fly to the US and we can do performances here. And then I can still teach and he doesn't have to lose work, and vice versa. So we had like this time period where we knew that we could perform and release an album back in 2015. And so we did have a self-imposed deadline. And we weren't very organized with the whole recording and editing and all that process. And we got it like, I don't know, we sent it out to get, printed, pushing, the limits of time. And we got the albums, 5 hours before our release concert? Something
like that, yeah. We were anxiously
not sure
waiting.
If we were going to get them. So... the process with Naxos was a little bit more structured, and so there's a definite benefit to that.
Okay,
we are procrastinators.
Is this the first one on Naxos?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. And then the recording and editing process, is that something that Naxos is involved in, or is that something that you guys dealt with?
Yeah, it was all us. Everything was us except their distribution online.
Cool.
Yeah, and
their contract asks we have to put in the dates of the recording. So like when we were negotiating with them, they wanted to know when we'd record it and where. And so we had to stipulate the dates, the place, the engineer, all that stuff in the contract, and the music obviously. And the contract, lays out that we have, it's good. We have control over that process and editing and all that. But it also says that they, reserve the right to tell us that it's not up to their quality when they receive it. So, right. Yeah.
And the way we convinced them at the beginning was our second album, and we worked with the same engineer, and they, we used the same church that we recorded at in London. So they knew the sound that they were getting from our second album excerpts. Yeah.
Was it recorded in a church in a live setting?
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
It's a interesting story because the way we did it's in this busy part of London, right next to Royal Albert Hall. And usually during the day, that the road that is passing next to the church is quite busy, and our sound engineer knows the guy who does the maintenance in the church, and
like the caretaker or something.
Yeah, and he gives us the keys basically. To record all night. So we will go in at like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. and then record until 5, 6 a.m. until like the road gets busy. And then, but this is like, March in London is cold. It's you can't turn on any church heaters. And these are like these old heaters.
You can hear this like rumbling fan below in the basement. So we have to keep the heat off.
Yeah.
Well, that's terrible for a guitar player. Your fingers. How did you play?
We were wrapped around scarves and wearing jackets, trying to like wear triple socks and like
we layer up. We have like a space heater that we kept nearby, and we would take breaks, put on gloves, go warm ourselves. We kept we would bring Necati's coffee maker and take a coffee break and warm up a little. So
it's cool. I mean, it's a good like group bonding experience.
Oh, it's crazy.
Yeah, it definitely is.
It just makes the whole experience, so much better. And yeah, I mean, even the time frames were so limited, Anthony, and it was, we booked 4 days to record, a full album, which was, how many minutes were in total, Mark?
It's like an hour and 3 or 4 minutes or something.
Wow. Yeah, like little
or 62 minutes. Yeah, it's an hour of music.
And in 4 days, with not really rehearsing with each other for many months.
I guess we should maybe clarify for people that don't know us, but I live in Chicago and Necati lives in London. So, we do a lot of rehearsing on our own. And so the ensemble component always comes together at the last minute.
Wow.
So there was new repertoire on that album that we had never actually played together until the week of the recording.
Okay.
So, yeah. Yeah, spoiler alert.
So a lot of things were like, Mark gets in, we start, with his jet lag, start rehearsing right away, and nonstop. This just goes on for a week. And in the meantime, I gotta make some money, so I'm like going teaching, coming back, like sitting down, and Mark is like ready to go. I'm like, give me a minute, let me drink some water.
He shows up on a mission.
He cooks while I'm like teaching, so we like get that out of the way, and then he sets up everything.
A teamwork.
It is. And sound engineer, and Mark is in my apartment, small little London apartment, so we're all like in the same place. Sound engineer acts like a producer also. He
he's very
he guides
involved.
us through, and then we put everything together in a week. And then 4 days, the second week we have like almost a day apart, and we line for nights to record.
It's like we would have one night we'd record, and then the next night would be off. It was sort of like every 2 to 3 nights we had a recording session booked.
Yeah.
Over the course of 8 days, I think.
And it gets to a point where it's like, okay, we can't rehearse anymore. We're just gonna focus on the ones that we're doing in the day one, and then we just do 4 songs only for those days, and then the next.
But it's like it winds down as the week goes, because we sort of prioritize. Okay, this repertoire we're working on. Then when it's recorded, we don't think about it anymore, and we work on the next thing. But so the volume of material that we're practicing gets less and less. But getting ready for the last recording session, we had this one big piece, which was very challenging and very long. And 2 days before the recording session, we decided that this one part that we're playing, we should switch parts. Because
good idea.
Necati, we realized, and this is the problem with not having had a chance to work on the song together, but we realized that the balance of the parts was pretty heavy on one part and more light on the other. So Necati's part was a lot more challenging, and thinking about the logistics of recording it was a huge burden on Necati. And so, the day before, he's teaching all day, I have nothing to do. So, we switched parts. My part was super easy. He learned it in 10 minutes. His part, I just spent, 4 hours that day working on, this 32 measure section and to be able to record it the next night. So, I mean, that was, I don't know.
Crazy.
As much as
when you think of it now.
Well, and then that last night, it was mostly focused on this one piece. It's the last piece on the album, Supreme Rhapsody 4. It's, 9 minutes long or something, 8.5 minutes long.
Something like that, yeah.
It's a long piece, really challenging in sections. Really nice piece, though. But, so we were focusing on that last night. We show up, we're exhausted from everything so far, and there's some weird ambient noise in the church that we can't identify, and so the sound, we spent probably an hour turning on different lights, plugging in different sockets, trying to do everything we could to identify what we couldn't.
About
the
that.
Sound engineer finally said, look, it's a steady frequency, I'll take care of it later. We go to record it. It's, we're just exhausted. It's stressful. It's a long piece. We're 2 hours in and we're only halfway through the piece. And
plus,
we finally finish. Plus, what?
You were gonna leave in like
so
7 hours.
We finish up the piece.
Oh, you have like a flight coming up.
4 a.m.
Oh god.
We finish the piece at 4 a.m. We pack up. We crack open a bottle of champagne. We toast. Luca, the sound engineer, gets in a cab back to Necati's flat. Necati and I walk over to a coffee shop that opened at 5:36. We get a cup of coffee, and then I got on the train to go to the airport and fly home. And Necati goes home to take a quick nap before teaching.
Wow.
So it was,
we had to get it done.
So this wasn't one of those like artist retreats recordings where you sit off in like the mountains for 2 months.
But our sound engineer, he lives in Colombia, and there's a studio he's worked with down there that's in the mountains in Colombia. So we've talked about how it would be really nice to go there next time. Just like reserve some time where neither of us are working. We're a little more like relaxed, more space on our schedule, and in sort of a nice place away from everything.
That's gonna happen.
It would be nice to do that at some point. It just it's a lot cheaper to stay in Necati's apartment in London and pay a church $50 a night to record there.
Well, I think now flights are like $20. So.
Yeah, maybe we should.
Let's go to Colombia. Yeah.
I was just curious. I looked the other day. Flights from LA to Chicago, I think, literally are $20. Right?
Wow. You serious?
Yeah.
You should come.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. So what about the rehearsing side? I feel like I have kind of different ideas about rehearsing with ensembles because it's something that I think a lot of rock bands, they rehearse sort of like every week for all of their life. And then classical ensembles, I feel like, have more of a culture of maybe 1 or 2 intense rehearsals, but learning everything on your own and coming prepared and ready to play.
It's we have a very systematic way actually, like and we mature with every project, and I feel like it changed a lot throughout the years, but now for example,
a lot less yelling now.
What we do is I record, for example, my section. And then Mark does his own section, rhythmic, not very musical. Yeah. But
we usually do it with an audible metronome.
Right.
Yeah. So we try to practice like that at first, and then depending on our time frame, which like for this last CD we didn't have much, and we had to get everything in this like steady approach, and then when we meet we talk only about the musicality and try to leave nothing to work on when we meet in terms of learning the parts,
where your fingers go.
Yeah, like exactly know the piece, know it well with the other person's section, and just when you meet, all you talk about is the musicality. In the past we had we've done many mistakes where we were trying to learn it separately, and we had other recordings to listen to because it was recorded before. And when we started doing our own music, for example, the second album was 50-50. It was 50% our compositions and then 50% commissioned work. And some of them we already either performed before, so we worked on it before we got to that recording period. And there was only, I think, 2, Mark, that we haven't like really.
I mean, your point though is that like when we're working with new music that hasn't been recorded prior to us recording it, sometimes you can actually play along with somebody else's recording as a way of rehearsing on your own. And that's not something that we've had the ability to do lately because we've done a lot of music.
Music.
Like the last album was. Some of it had been recorded by a guitar duo. I think one set of pieces had been, but to be honest, I never even heard that recording. It's not like I don't know if it's commercially available anymore. I just know that it has been recorded. Yeah, so there wasn't that to lean on. And so like Necati says, we send each other the recordings of our own parts, and that allows, I think, anyone who's played in an ensemble, like, that you can know your part really well, but when you get together with the ensemble, there's still sort of like an acclimation to what does it sound like when I'm hearing everything else.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're at least past that phase when we sit down to play together for the first time. I've heard his part, I know his part, I know what it sounds like, I know how the lines interact with each other. So, it allows us to get that out of the way, and like Necati said, it's just right to the musicality. And I think the other, honestly, it's sort of an advantage because we have to sort of travel and then work with these condensed rehearsal schedules. A lot of ensembles that I know, they might have a weekly meeting or something for an hour or two. And so they don't have a lot of time to really deep dive into a piece. Whereas we could spend, 2 hours on one piece and we still have the rest of the day to work on the rest because, we're fitting as much time into that, week or 10-day period as we can. And so I think it really actually, it kind of gives us the best of both worlds where it's not sort of the regular every week rehearsal. It's maybe not as much contact time as like you're saying a rock band might have or something, but when we do have those rehearsal settings, it's different from a lot of classical ensembles that I've spoken with. And I think it's actually become a real benefit for us.
Yeah.
And at this point, we know each other so well too that I feel like we have a similar view of music, but we also trust each other. So like when Necati says, I want to play it like this, I usually don't need to spend time arguing with him or trying to convince him of my way. I can usually just say, okay, I trust Necati. Let me just try to understand it and make sure I can play it the way he's describing.
And we used to do that. We used to try to think more soloist. I think more from each other's perspective, and then
like each trying to outshine the other one.
Yeah, almost.
Yeah. Necati finally realized he couldn't, and he settled down and.
It's natural, for every, it's like a relationship, right? Especially if it's a duo, you have two, you gotta make it work somehow if you want this to, actually be successful. So you sacrifice and you understand each other, and then if you still enjoy the relationship, you continue, and that's what happened with Duo Tandem. I think everything was against this ensemble. We have the distance, we have the time differences. We both had to make money, so we packed our schedules with teaching, and then everything else that is on top of it. It was very challenging, but we understood each other so well after a certain time that we were like, okay, you do this and I trust you with that, like what Mark was saying, and I do this. And now when we get together, it is very smooth in terms of getting the point across, and okay, let's not waste time with going back and forth arguing. Of course, we try to improve each other also. Sometimes every time we meet, there is still that moment of like, you sure you want to do that? And then one of us has to like go, listen, we had this moment before, let's just like carry on, it's gonna work at the end. And it always has, it always worked, and we forget about all those little things that we had half an hour to think about, or we say, okay, leave it for now, let's get back to it later. And that's another solution, right? And again, it has to work, because for us, we don't have a day to waste of, it's not gonna work. It's we always made it work somehow, and I think that's one of the beauties about our ensemble, because it works.
It seems like it's a really good solution. The learning on your own, with the recording, but then coming together for sort of an intense week or two, so that you have that time together to keep the ensemble-ness, so it doesn't feel like some gig that you're just showing up to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think beyond that, despite the time difference even and the distance, being on different continents, modern technology allows you to stay very connected. There's apps like we chat on WhatsApp, and it's, for people that have used it, it's the same as making a phone call.
Right.
And so to be honest, like I talk to Necati. I mean, we talk almost every day. And so I think, even compared to some ensembles, it's like you almost take it for granted that you're going to see those people the next week and rehearse with them the next week. And so it's like, I think we had to set up these systems to work to make it function, just given the locations that we're in. But I think a lot of those systems sort of allowed us to stay in touch more than a lot of ensembles, even though we're not in the same room as each other as often. And I think that's a real benefit. So
yeah.
I mean sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I lost my train of thought. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that because we've worked together for a long time too. While we can't, test out sort of, musicality remotely, like we can't say, all right, let's try this, day crescendo here and see how it feels. We can talk about those things and know going into a first rehearsal that we want to do this here and this here and this here. Like we can know those things, and also like we're good enough at listening to each other now that we can kind of follow each other as well. So even if we haven't talked about it, somebody can just kind of do it and the other person can follow. So, there's just that benefit of, we have been playing together for, almost, coming up on like 10 years now.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And I believe that that was kind of visible also, Mark, when I first started playing with you back in, 2011. We clicked so well as musicians. I don't know, you played with many people, Anthony, and you probably had certain people that you clicked more than others. And Mark was that person for me, where we started working our second year of grad school, and we just we were like really enjoying our rehearsals and get-togethers and just like playing and listening and like figuring something out and getting excited about the same things.
That's
was
great.
Like really really cool.
Well, and that we didn't start playing duos together till the second year, but the first year we would hang out a lot and work, like play our solo material for each other and kind of give feedback and comments and listen to music and talk about music. So there was a lot of just sort of establishing kind of the foundation of our like shared musical interests in that first year.
Well, it's a relationship, right? That's
right.
Exactly.
I feel like that's kind of
we did all the foreplay that first year.
I feel like school is the sweet spot for that, because I think about that now and that like I have a difficult time starting groups. And I feel like I'm at a bad age for it, because I feel like once you leave school, there's all these great musicians out there, but everybody's trying to get paid, obviously, as they should be. But if you don't have that friendship developed, then trying to set up a group, it's sort of all your vision, and it's difficult to get people to sort of buy in at equal creative levels.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's something actually I think my sister deals with a lot. I don't know if she talked about it when she was on the podcast.
Yeah, I think I can't
remember now. But yeah, it is a challenge. You're absolutely right. And I never really thought about that. Just that when you're making a professional ensemble as an adult, not in school, it's almost like you have to like pay people to spend the time with you, and so it makes it harder to establish that foundation, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I feel like the true sweet spot is like 13-year-olds who don't yet know how to play their instruments all learning together.
Yeah, like Apple Core, know?
Sure.
My brother's old band.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, they started playing together. Actually, it was young. I think they were probably like 10 or 11, and so they were brand new to their instruments. They were all just sort of learning together, and it's that's a different experience.
Yeah. So the rehearsing side of things, have you tried any sort of real time whatever audio networking programs or anything like that?
When's the last time we tried something like that?
A long time ago, and we were like, waste of time.
I know the technology's better now, but
maybe we could find something better. But I mean, even after this whole pandemic happened, I'm through the schools that I teach at, and they're like, for example, choir, lessons. They've been struggling. They found certain ways that I wasn't really following crazily, but they were struggling a lot. So I know that still it's a tough thing to do unless you're recording parts and then putting them together at the end.
Right.
Yeah, it's not easy to make that real time rehearsal.
There's some software out there, but it's very difficult to use, and most of it doesn't even have a graphic interface. It's all just you have to go into the terminal to run it and everything.
Yeah,
but there's low latency audio that's not compressed at all, and you can play almost in real time.
Okay.
Really, you've used some of it?
Yeah, I did a concert once between Irvine and San Diego, where they were in San Diego and we were in Irvine. Oh, and I know that they've done it with Irvine, Zurich, and maybe Seoul in South Korea.
Oh, wow.
Do you know what your internet capabilities have to be for that?
They have to be pretty good.
Okay. That's what I was going to say.
It works best at universities where they have amazing internet.
I think it's not even the program. It's like everything else that, runs the program also. The internet mostly.
Right. And I mean, distance, you can't really overcome that. So Chicago to London will always have some kind of, probably the fastest would be, I don't know, a few hundred milliseconds.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know technology is developing with that, and a lot of people are looking into that and excited about it. I'll be honest, I feel pretty good about our practice routine. I think I think the next step that we've talked about is sort of being able to carve out a space in our schedule, like maybe over the summer or something, where we can get together for 10 days when neither of us are teaching, and just, focus on music, like not doing performances either. Just, we can work on writing, arranging, rehearsing, just kind of, because the other challenge that we have is that usually when we get together, it's because we've got recording sessions or performances, because it's expensive to get together, so we don't usually do it unless we're getting paid to do it.
Right. Yeah.
And so, but that means that if we're getting together, we might be working on some new material, but we're also making sure that we have things ready to perform, things ready to record. And so we can't always have 100% focus on it. We've done that. We've done that once, where we spent
in Cyprus
when we were getting ready for the second album, a couple months before we recorded it. Necati's from Cyprus, and we spent about 10 days there and kind of isolated ourselves for most of that time from his family. Not because they're not wonderful people.
But it was one of my favorite moments of Duo Tandem, to be honest. We were waking up, and the house setting was really nice, and we would just make coffees, maybe get some fresh air, go in there, and then just like constantly create. Like it was nonstop creation. We were working on new compositions, and it was just one of my favorite moments of Duo Tandem that I remember. So I wish we can be
if we could do that every year, I wouldn't really care at all about low latency, like real time rehearsing.
Right. It's just expensive.
Yeah.
So
how much needs to make more money if there's any, like wealthy patrons out there.
If you see us, Anthony, not performing and meeting up for 10 days, that means that we have some money.
Right.
Nice.
Up here.
That's good. I mean, that's a happy. Happy thought.
Yeah.
So how much do you compose for the ensemble versus commission versus play older music?
So we like composing. We're not the type of people usually when I meet people that are, composers, right? And I don't mean that they don't actually compose.
That was good.
People that call
So-called.
when I meet people that identify as composers though, right? Like I'm assuming this is probably true for yourself. Like you're folks that sort of just you write and create all the time, not necessarily because you've got somebody commission something or you have a project.
Right.
It's just like part of your DNA, right? Mm-hmm. That is, I think, less so with Necati and I. We do really enjoy the process, and when we made the decision to write music for the second album, that was really fun. And we've done a little more of that since then. But for us, without having sort of that defined project, we're not as active with it. And so to date, like the first album was a couple of commissions, but a lot of existing material. The second album was half our compositions, half commissions, and the third album was all the music of Kemal Belevi. Much of it was, a lot of it was world premieres. Some of them were arrangements of pieces that he made, of his own pieces that he then made for Guitar Duo for us, but a lot of it was also just stuff he'd already written for Guitar Duo. So, anyway, that's what
definitely,
one-sixth of our recorded output is ours.
Yeah, I think we discussed this enough though. Our second album was the most creative for our duo.
Okay.
We really found
Is John
our
Henry
voice.
on that?
John
Yes.
Henry's
Okay,
on that.
yeah, that's a very cool piece. I was just listening to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And it's we want to go to that direction.
Right.
This Naxos album came out of nowhere, and we couldn't really say no to it because it was such a big label for the.
Yeah, we saw an opportunity and thought we should take advantage of it. But the direction we'd really like to move in is, I think, doing at least like half of the compositions on our performances and recordings, because I don't know. I mean, there's still a lot of great music out there that we didn't write, so we want to leave some space to play that, whether it's commissioning new things or just existing material. But I don't think we have to explain to you the fun of writing your own music, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. You guys seem to have a good relationship towards new music, and not like new music as in neo-complexity or anything like that, but just drawing on the contemporary music world.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting that you say that, because I think I never used to think of myself as a new music guy, because in the classical world that usually comes with the connotations of kind of, I don't know, the conceptual music and the avant-garde, and that was never really my thing. There's some of that I really like, and I don't know, like, I think I'll always appreciate people that are kind of taking risks and trying new things, because it opens up more space for the rest of us to operate in. But in terms of like what I sit down to listen to, that was never my thing. And so I never thought of myself as like a new music guy, but in the 3 albums that we've recorded and with most of what we perform, very little of it is more than like 20 or 30 years old.
Right.
So I don't know. It's kind of, it happens sort of circuitously and without me realizing it. But I think, like you said, it's sort of the willingness to kind of recognize what we listen to, who we are in as a complete view of ourselves as musicians, like that. Like a lot of us guitarists, we have backgrounds in rock music and pop music of various kinds. And so not being afraid to kind of draw on that.
I feel like
not being afraid to say I like tonal music. And,
Are you going to come out and say that?
I just said it, Yeah.
I can cut it out if you want. No,
but going to grad school at the conservatory, like San Francisco Conservatory, has got a very strong new music community, and so I think I was kind of afraid to say that when I was there.
But I think that the music that Duo Tandem does can actually be risky is the wrong word, but it does take risks. I mean, something like John Henry, I would say, as a piece for a classical guitar duo, I think it exists or it draws on other forms of music in a way that doesn't feel too artificial. Because I think a lot of classical guitar pieces that draw on folk and pop musics suck. They're just, it's not even just guitar. It's a lot of classical composers try and do that and do it really badly, and it comes off as fake and weak, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I think there's a way to do it where you're commenting in an intelligent way and you're engaging with a tradition versus just taking ideas from a tradition.
Yeah. And it's hard to sort of, I guess, talk too specifically without sort of, I don't know. Yeah, without sort of getting into specifics about songs or, what sort of bad version of, classical drawing and folk sounds like is. But, I think part of it for us, is that we have been dealing with things that are very authentic to ourselves.
Right.
I used to be like obsessed with the blues.
Right.
I listened to a lot of that music. I used to play a lot of it, and so it's an integral part of who I am. And then the Turkish stuff. I mean, I don't know, Necati, you can talk more about that, but that's a huge part of your background.
Yeah.
So it's not artificial. It's not forced either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we tried to we were trying to find something unique for our duo. And do something that again bring something new to this small guitar world, and what we came up with that blues and my Turkish references were syncing well together, and then we kind of went towards that direction. And maybe John Henry is not a great example in that sense, but some of the interludes that connected these bigger pieces in our second album were almost all of them were a combination of the two elements. And when you hear those short little pieces, it's very, for me it's a lot of fun. And you hear these two little elements that comes in and out, and I don't know, I feel like we created something new, and it's personal. Makes it sound, we can make it sound better because it's personal. We love doing that also. I think it's very important,
and the fact that it's fun is important too.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's called playing. It's this thing I've been obsessed with. Like,
music should be fun, man. That's it.
I don't know, like when you're a musician, what you do for a living is you play. It's literally called playing.
Exactly.
I am a professional child, Anthony.
Yeah, exactly.
But like you were saying, some composers, when they try to create something, it sounds forced, and personally for us, the style that we went for, it wasn't forced at all. Like Mark used the slide in John Henry, for example, and in theory you never heard of it on a nylon string guitar, but it just worked so smoothly because it was imitating some sort of gesture. And in one of other pieces in the second album too, Laden, by Garrett Schatzer, it was imitating a vocal line, and it was a perfect, sound to do that.
Yeah, I mean that's the whole reason people started using a slide on the guitar anyway, was to imitate some of the nuance in singing that you can't get on a fixed pitch fretted instrument, right?
Yeah.
And so the piece Necati's talking about, Laden, that's part of the set. The 4 Hypnoses after Skip James, the whole purpose was not to sound like Skip James or blues, but to sort of respond to qualities in his music. And one of the prominent qualities is his voice and the way he sang. So like it felt pretty natural to take a movement there and play the melody with a slide. That's
very cool. The gestural connection to the blues is I have a piece that actually tries to explore that exact idea. Where
cool.
it takes a blues progression, but it takes out all the notes. So you're not playing dominant seventh chords, but you're playing stacks of gestures drawn from the blues in a 1-4-5 pattern, but of gestures.
That's cool.
So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I think sort of looking broadly at structures like that is kind of a good way to approach it too, because if you don't want it to sound like blues, but you want it to be related in some way, there's a lot of that stuff. That's cool. That piece isn't for guitar duo, is it?
Could be. It's for unspecified instrumentation.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, right.
Nice.
Could be for anything.
Could be for anything. How about banjo?
Yeah. Oh man, I have a banjo right here. I've been practicing banjo a lot. Oh,
I know.
Yeah. That was interesting. It was. Have I told you about that? The whole getting into banjo thing. So Steve Martin has a musical.
I think I remember hearing
he
about
wrote,
that.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this, but I play a lot of pit orchestra gigs, or I did.
Yeah.
That was like my main income. Yeah. Not anymore. That's not coming back. But
yeah.
But yeah, I got called to do this show, and I think it was 2 weeks out, and so usually that's plenty of time to learn a show, but it was all like real banjo, like claw hammer and 3-finger Scruggs style, and I was like, 2 weeks is pushing it.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, all right, just say yes and learn how to do it, and I barely got by.
Did you at least have a banjo before you said yes?
I had a banjo. I had to get a second one actually, because the show calls for 2.
Oh,
because of all the tunings, it's all crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But
I feel like that's the best way of learning an instrument. Though you say yes to something, and you're like, all right, well, I better learn this, or a style or anything. You just gotta say yes and then sit down and work. You have all the technique.
Exactly.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. You have a mandolin back there, right?
Yeah, and I never learned it.
Oh no,
he hasn't said yes to anything yet.
We were gonna. The reason that I bought it, because I always fancied mandolins so much. I love the tone. And we had a mission that we were gonna either commission or write a song.
We still might.
We will.
I was actually
it's
talking
it's
to
gonna
our
happen.
friend recently about that. So,
yeah. So,
but no, I mean, that's what you need as a project.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like it's there and it's gonna happen. I'm gonna learn a song and then I'm gonna master the mandolin. That's it.
There you go.
Is there a style of mandolin you're interested in?
Well, not specifically. No. Yeah.
Well, because I kind of think of it, I feel like it's sort of like accordion in that it has all these different iterations all around the world, and there's all sorts of different types of mandolin playing. And there's
I just.
Why did you get it? I don't even remember actually.
Why did I get it? I saw it on the store, and I fell in love. So
an impulse.
I have I don't know. A lot of musicians can relate. I became having an addiction of having every different tone of a guitar related instrument. So I have the ukulele, I have the classicals, I have the electric, I have mandolin.
Yeah. What else do you have?
Blues guitar is coming, by the way. Mark, I didn't tell you. I bought a parlor guitar.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right.
What is this?
The PRS parlor that they released recently. Again, like Mark made me fall in love with the blues after hanging out with him for so long, and I've been teaching blues, but on my classical, and I just found a good deal on this guitar, and
look, Necati, blues is here. It's not in the instrument, all right?
It's true. That's
blues is everything, man. I the more I go into the blues and study it and play it and listen, I feel like it's just this unending world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm so interested in the tie between free jazz and the blues.
Huh. I have never explored that.
I had a jazz improv teacher in grad school who was saying that if you listen to like a long B.B. King song, like Sweet 16 or something, like a 9-minute song, it starts off right down here at this really low level, and it ends at this huge climax, and he falls over on stage, and they pick him up, and he can't take it anymore, and the blues has crushed him. And he says what free jazz is it's just starting at that end point, and it's just going from there.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's just existing at
was
that
space. What was that guy's name at UW? That old guy that taught jazz.
Richard Davis?
People. Richard Davis. Was that him or was that
He didn't No, this was at UC Irvine.
Oh,
okay. It was Kei Akagi.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. But I like that idea a lot. That it's all still built in the blues. And a lot of those free jazz guys would say that what they're doing, they're just playing the blues.
Well, I know a lot of I have, over this past year, for the first time in my life, been learning how to play jazz. Because I never did before. But anyway, like, it's definitely... Like, sort of jazz blues always turned me off before because I really liked blues, and jazz blues is jazz. It's not blues. You know, it's obviously it's connected and related, but it's still fundamentally different in certain ways, right? But it's clear, though, that there are those elements of blues that were brought into jazz and are hugely foundational that I never really understood before. Yeah. But I haven't done any free jazz.
No free jazz?
No free jazz. Yeah.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know. I feel like not all, but a lot of classical guitar players have this thing where they start somewhere else and they wind up at classical guitar, and I'm sort of confused. I don't really understand why anybody is a classical guitar player. but it makes it. But so many people do it. I mean, I went in that direction, and I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
I think for me, and I think I knew this about myself, but it's become clear studying jazz. But like the way I practice in classical and the way I have to practice in jazz are pretty different. And the way I practice in classical feels more natural. And I can do those things in jazz. It's like very process-oriented things. If I'm working on like a little 2-5-1 riff or something, I'll do it in as many positions as I can, as many different, go through the cycle of keys. It's a practice process.
Right.
There's nothing creative about that. It's just sort of crunching the numbers, right? Running my fingers, right? So those things are very easy for me to do, and those are a huge part of classical. I think like you can put music in front of you, you can play it, right? And so that feels very natural to me. And so I think those processes are what drew me in. The music is almost secondary because I like lots of different types of music, and that's the thing about why I'm still a classical guitarist is that I've realized that I don't have to box myself in with the music that I play. But I can still play that same instrument. I can still have the funny nails on my hand. I can play unamplified. I can still do all those things.
Right.
And yeah, there's limitations to it, and there's things that you will never be able to do on that instrument. But there's still a lot you can do.
Right. But that's true for everything.
That's true for everything, yeah. You have to just get outside of the box.
Right.
That's why we don't tell people that we're a classical guitar duo. We are an instrumental guitar duo.
An instrumental guitar duo.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Because I think people hear classical guitar duo and they have this set of preconceived notions. Yeah. And in that set of preconceived notions is not something like John Henry or Yishel Shear. So we don't want them to not give us a chance.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, classical is a tough word. It's a
tough word.
It's a word that's a problem.
It is.
In today's world, a big problem. Yes.
Yep. So.
Yeah.
And that's one of our biggest missions as a duo too, like to make people appreciate the classical repertoire that is very beautiful. You know, it's brilliant in so many ways. But with the new world, I think that whole energy of it is just so sucked and low, and it's just not, you know, positive anymore. That in so many ways to so many people, including the closest people in my life, you know, sometimes including to me, you know, to go to a concert, you know, when I have my colleagues or my friends, you know, saying I'm just going to do this classical, you know, program, I triple think about it, you know, what is the program? What am I going to see? And, you know, is this going to be a hustle for me to get there? Like it sucks away from that whole, like, and we were talking about this to a friend, and it's that, you know, the show concept, right? You're not going to see a show. It's mostly a player sitting down, very concentrated, probably like crazy, nervous and trying to get through the very hard repertoire.
Sounds like a nightmare. Who wants to see that?
And we've seen it a lot, right? You've seen it a lot.
Miserable.
If you don't want to see that, you should come to a Duo Tandem.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Sorry,
hey, man, that's a good time
show.
right there.
It's a really important point. It's a really important point. The culture around classical performance, and I feel like actually, especially classical guitar performance, is, I mean, it's so miserable. The concerts and everybody's so nervous and thinking about the setting and the fact that it's a show is huge.
Yeah. And that's it. Like people that wants to attend to those concerts, you think, okay, I gotta dress up in a certain way sometimes. You know, you have to not even chat with anybody, discuss about, you know, not enjoy the whole thing until maybe the end of it, and then you discuss and you try to remember those moments that happened, right? And for us, we're trying to find a balance between, you know, okay, like enjoy this beautiful moment of these acoustic instruments, unamplified, and try to hear this experience that we're giving you, but at the same time have a beer in your hand. You know, if you want to discuss, you know, like if you want to say in the middle of the piece, go for it, you know, because you saw something cool. And
we're still waiting for that one.
We haven't had a wow moment. No, I mean it's one of those, and we're trying to really establish this setting. So when you see us, and then when we're in town again, you want to tell this to a friend. Hey, I'm going to see these two guitarists play. Oh, what did they play? Well, they're instrumental guitarists, you know, and. You know, in a way, you will say
life-changing music.
You don't want to miss it.
But you will say it's a laid back. You know, they usually play in places that has a bar or something. You know, it will be like a Friday, going and actually having some drinks and listening to some music with friends. Not we gotta go in 2 hours. We gotta sit down and, you know, after that we'll go to a bar kind of thing.
Right.
No, like that's your show. That's your hangouts, you know, hour. So
and after that, you can go to a bar with Duo Tandem.
And then you can.
No promises on that one.
That's great. The connection. I feel like it's something that I mean, I'm missing a lot, especially now because there is no live music. But it's what's important about playing music to me is a connection. Between me and the other musicians I'm playing with, and the musicians in the audience. And to me, music it's a social phenomenon because it only exists in our minds. And so I'm making music in my mind while you're making music in your mind, and we can connect about that.
Yeah.
Anthony, I don't know if you feel this at all either, but I've been thinking about that kind of stuff a lot lately, and kind of coming to the same conclusion that for me, the real important thing is the way music allows me to connect with people.
Yep.
And I think a huge part of it is that while I've been talking a lot on this podcast, I'm generally sort of a shy person. And in environments of like a lot of people that I don't know, I'm very quiet.
Right.
But if you put me on stage and I'm playing music, it's a way for me to sort of open up to strangers that I can't do otherwise.
Yeah.
So it allows you to sort of build and establish a connection in a pretty unique and immediate way.
Yeah.
And I think I really appreciate that about performing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that it's an important point.
Yeah, it is.
That's it, that communication, that living a moment of saying, I had fun. I'm gonna remember this moment,
or I was angry, or I was sad, or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Bring your tissues.
Well, I feel like that's it's kind of the trick of performing. And I feel like I always frame things a little too negatively, but I always see it like composing instrumental music allows me to say things and also be off the hook for saying them. So I don't have to say them out loud. I can just say them.
You can make your musicians say them out loud.
Exactly. I didn't say it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But cool. So what's coming up for Duo Tandem?
I don't know. I mean, we haven't met in person since last October, so it's been over a year.
It's a transition period for sure. I mean, we were just done with the CD and and we're trying to write more. We're trying to figure out, what can be next in terms of collaboration, maybe or. Finding concepts.
What the next project is, like music project. So we like to sort of pull things together with some kind of concept. And so trying to figure out what that is. We've got a set of pieces from a friend that we've performed a lot but never recorded. So trying to see if that'll fit in. We've got another friend that we might commission, so seeing if that'll work in. Cool. Trying to see what kind of ideas we have for our own compositions. So trying to figure out sort of how we can sort of build this all together into a cohesive idea that makes sense.
Keep yourself busy and then continue creating, and then you never know what it's going to lead to. It's always been that way. You have an idea and then you're like, okay, it's an idea. But then something else comes up and you're like, oh, it actually fits, and then we already released 3 CDs, so maybe from now on I think having full albums is a lot of hustle, and you can just with digital distribution you can just release singles and have EPs or just smaller projects, but continuously release something out there. And I think that's one of our goals, to keep producing. Creative creation is big part of why we do this, right? We gotta keep
especially now we gotta keep working. Not lose it. Cool. Well, do you guys want to try and play something, see what happens?
We can try. What instruments are we gonna use here? Necati, do you want to use the mandolin?
Oh, man, I'll do my best. Yeah, why not?
That's good. It's good to play instruments that you don't know how to do. I
am asking Necati to do that, but I have no non-guitars here. So.
All right. Well, I can hop on banjo, and then we have.
Okay. Should I go steel or nylon? What do you guys want?
I don't know. Nylon sounds nice. Good compliment to the twanginess.
Yeah. We need something that sounds pleasant. I don't know if I'm in tune. Who's got a good A? Yeah, who's got a good A?
I don't know.
Man, for me to tune this guy is gonna take a while, so let's just go for it. And by the way, how is it gonna work with the timing?
It'll be terrible.
Okay, that's the fun part.
Yeah. Well, so what I found is I can set this up, but if I play in time, or one person plays in time and the other people are pretty free, it sort of works. So if I just something like like that, and then you guys can play whatever you want, and it'll kind of go in and out in a cool way.
All right.
What key are we playing in? Should I be in drop D? That's fine. You don't have to pick a key. It's fine. We're just gonna play. We're gonna make it up. Necati doesn't know the notes on the mandolin anyway, so. You just had to have the last note, didn't you, Necati?
Yeah. Oh man, that was fun.
All right.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. I'll listen. I'll listen to it and I'll see if I can put something together out of it.
Sure.
I haven't done it with 3. It's a lot harder with 3.
It is. I was listening to you, Anthony. Like I was keeping up, but I wasn't sure what Mark was doing at some point.
I wasn't sure what I was doing at some points too. So
I wasn't sure if it was the time difference or like what was going on in there. That was fun though.
It's always worked so far. It's always been a little odd, and then at the end I listen back and it sounds pretty cool. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
New horizons.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks guys for doing this. This was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you for having us, Anthony. Yeah. It's been a lot of fun, man.
Fun to talk a little bit and catch up. So
yeah.
Duo Tandem, check out their latest album. It's available, I think, pretty much all the streaming services, right? So Duo Tandem, Necati and Mark. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thanks, Anthony. Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching or listening, depending on if you are watching on YouTube or listening to the stream. Remember to check out Duo Tandem. Their new album is available now. And remember to like, leave a comment, and subscribe. And if you would like to consider supporting my content generally, please visit my Patreon page. Bye.